Afternoon and welcome back to Colossians. Before we read the next part of the letter, it's really important to remember that Paul told the Colossians that they were included in God's plan of salvation simply because they had believed in Christ. It wasn't because of their ability, it wasn't because of anything they had done, or because they followed all of the rules. The Old Testament rules and rituals, many of them no longer apply to the people of God. And we know that because the New Testament tells us, like in today's passage that we're going to read now. This is verses 16 to 23 of Colossians chapter 2. Therefore, do not let anyone judge you by what you eat or drink, or with regard to a religious festival, a new moon celebration, or a Sabbath day. These are a shadow of the things that were to come. The reality, however, is found in Christ. Do not let anyone who delights in false humility and the worship of angels disqualify you. Such a person also goes into great detail about what they have seen. They are puffed up with idle notions by their unspiritual mind. They have lost connection with the head, from whom the whole body, supported and held together by its ligaments and sinews, grows as God causes it to grow. Since you died with Christ to the elemental spiritual forces of this world, why, as though you still belong to the world, do you submit to its rules? Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. These rules, which have to do with things that are all destined to perish with use, are all based on merely human commands and teachings. Such regulations indeed have an appearance of wisdom, with their self-imposed worship, their false humility, and their harsh treatment of the body, but they lack any value in restraining sensual indulgences. The rules and rituals that are described here are described as a shadow of the things that were to come. In other words, their purpose was to prepare the people of God for something even greater. Something, or in fact someone, was coming that these rules and rituals pointed to. In fact, all of the Old Testament, the stories, the laws, the prophets, everything that we read from Genesis through to Malachi, all points to Jesus. And now, as the people of God, we're no longer bound by many Old Testament laws, rules, and rituals. If a rule is repeated in the New Testament, it still applies. But here in Colossians chapter 2, we're told that some of the rules regarding what we eat and drink and things like religious festivals, new moons, stuff like that, those don't apply to the people of God anymore. And in seeking to help the Colossians live out their faith, Paul asked an important question in verse 20. Since you died with Christ to the elemental spiritual forces of this world, why, as though you still belong to the world, do you submit to its rules? Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. Paul went on to talk about how these rules around things that we should handle or touch or taste might look wise, they might have an appearance of wisdom, but they don't have any power. And whenever we make Christianity about rules, when we make it about what I think you should do or what you think I should do, or we follow our own rules, we make it all about us. And we find out that actually we don't have the power to follow through on the rules that we create for ourselves or for other Christians. That's the problem the Colossians were facing. They were being asked to follow all these different rules that weren't from God, that no longer applied, and that they didn't have the power to follow anyway. And to that kind of thinking, Paul would say, stop. Paul would say, remember what God has done for you in Christ. Remember that your faith is based not on your ability, not on the rules that you follow or you keep or someone else says you should keep, but on Christ's finished work for you. The commands of the Bible still apply to Christians. We are called to be holy, but so many of the Old Testament rules and rituals no longer apply to you. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Take your lead from God and glorify Him in all things. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.